Welcome to the Hannycast for Monday, April the 28th. I'm Charles Hanniger, along with former Tiger pitcher Doug Thompson and former Tiger pitching coach Dan Canaveri, as LSU takes 2 out of 3 in a wildly entertaining 3-game set with Tennessee this past weekend at Alex Box Stadium. The 2000 national champions were honored, the 25th anniversary of that on Saturday night. We had an early morning, not late night finish on Friday night's game with a walk-off and another walk-off on a run rule on Sunday. So there's plenty to get to. Guys, Dan, let me start with you because you were there for the reunion, but the park was still buzzing, I know, from how this thing ended on Friday night. So kind of what you walked into there on Saturday for the people that stuck around till past 1 a.m. to watch Bear Jones walk it off.
I'll tell you what, on Saturday when I got there with for the reunion, of course, the reunion, the guys were so excited to see everybody. It was a great day. Weather was perfect. But, I was in there in the stadium when I went to the game, and you could see there wasn't an empty seat in the place. There was a lot of standing room only people. When the outfield bleachers are filled at game time, you got yourself a ball game, and a lot of electricity in the air, a lot of emotion, and it was just a special place. The box was the place to be on this weekend.
Friday night, they set an attendance record, which they broke the last time Tennessee was here and Paul Skeens was pitching. This time it was Cade Anderson and Liam Doyle, and it was a terrific pitchers matchup for the first 6 innings of this game, really first 7 innings of this game. Doug, Liam Doyle, 97 from the left side. Listen, LSU didn't hit him hard. They only got 1 hit off of him. But, man, when you got a guy that's dealing like this, does the biggest focus become, let me get up there and battle with some at-bats, get the pitch count up, and get this guy out of the game?
I mean, that's always the story with a dominant pitcher. I mean, from the first at-bat on, you're trying to chew that pitch count up. There's not going to be a whole lot of success to score runs, or at least that's what history shows. I think Doyle's one of the best that they'll face all year. Might be the best pitcher in the SEC, actually. I mean, he was as lights out as you want. So, yes, to answer your question, getting that pitch count elevated as quickly as possible was the first mission for that offense on Friday.
Dan, Cade Anderson matched him pitch for pitch through about 6 innings. He got up there over 110 pitches as well and just started to tire a little bit. It got him out of the game. And so you go to the 9th, and Tennessee's able to tack another run off of the bullpen. And it's 3-0 going to the bottom of the 9th, and Nate Snead, who's a closer for Tennessee, is in the game. LSU's chances of winning at that point weren't great, but what opened the door was an error, and then another error, and then Dalton Beck, who did not have a hit in SEC play all season, comes up and laces a 2-run bullet right back up the middle. That gives Curiel a chance. He gets to 2 strikes, and then he singles to right field, and that set the stage for Jones. You've seen this movie before, maybe not exactly like this because this is the first time a game exactly like this has happened at the box, down 3 runs, scoreless in the bottom of the 9th. But those errors opened the door, and LSU took advantage.
Yeah, if you want to score, in those types of innings, you've got to get the guy on via an error. You got to have a walk. You got to have something like that's a non-hit in order to have base runners to make it work. And Doug, we were joking at the reunion, on Saturday, all the alumni. You've heard this hundreds of times. See, somewhere in America tonight, somebody's going to win a ball game in the bottom of the 9th with a 3-run homer. Why not us? Why not now? And that's been the mantra of LSU baseball. We're never out of it, especially at the box.
Yeah, the ghost of Alec Box struck again. And, Ken, I say that all the time to my kids' teams. Hey, somebody somewhere today is going to come from behind 9 runs in the last inning. Might as well be us. It's crazy. I mean, all you need, I've said this for many years about Alec Box in big games. All it needs is a little drop of gasoline. That's all you got to give it, is a little spark. And the fans at LSU, going back to the early 80s, have become so educated now when it comes not only to the game of baseball, but to when they sense Uncle Mo shifting. And one error led to another error. And then as soon as Chris Guillot starts with the the LSU chant, it's just a tough place to win. And what a special night at the box it was with Jared Jones's monster blast out to center field. It's just it's one of those memories those kids will never forget.
Guys, Jared Jones coming into that game was fighting it. He had 20 strikeouts in his last 50 at bats, and it looked like we talked about this last week. They were getting him on pitches in a lot of cases up in the zone. This ball, I've seen Matuk hit one over the scoreboard at the new box. I've seen Dykeman break the camera in center field. He hit one so hard. But I don't recall, and I did every game the first 10 years of the stadium in there. I didn't miss a game. I don't recall one that went over the center field batter's eye quite like this. And we saw some monster blasts at the old box too, but this was 452 feet that batter's eye is 30 feet in the air. This is the longest ball I've ever seen hit in the new stadium. I don't know about you guys.
I'll go with that's the longest ball I've ever seen hit in the new stadium. I don't know, Doug, and you'll recall this one. The hardest ball I've ever seen hit.
I know what he's going to say. Go ahead.
Brandon Larson in the 97 College World Series off of Anderson, because that ball got out over the lights. We couldn't even find the ball. Next thing you know, that's in a car on I-80. I mean, it was crazy. That ball was the hardest ball I've seen hit, but Jones was right up there. That was a monster blast.
Yeah, I've got two that come to mind. One was the Brad Cressy home run in 1998 in the College World Series to left center field. The ball landed at the bottom of that hill, some say about 500 feet. I gave up a home run to a guy named Titus Meadows against Vanderbilt at the old box. It actually went over the center field, the American flag pole. It literally almost hit the top ball there in dead center. So that was a good poke too. But man, to walk it off like that, you just don't get to see him very often hit like that to actually win the game. And of course, the umpire tried to persuade Jared to hurry up to first base, and it looked like he said something along the lines of, "Dude, I just walked this thing off. I'm going to enjoy it for a second."
Yeah, really.
So, when you hit it like that to walk it off, you can do pretty much whatever you want at that point, and that's coming from a pitcher. So, what an impressive swing of the bat by Jones, and a 1-2 count, by the way.
Yeah. Down to the 2 strikes, 2 outs twice with Curiel and him.
Unbelievable.
Doug, I got to say this, though. I will say, you just reminded me of something. In an inter-squad game where a pitcher bowed out, I went in and threw, and Jeff Lamont hit a changeup off me that one.
I didn't want to say it, Cano, when you talk about the furthest I ever saw hit. I didn't want to say that because you're on the call here, and I didn't want to embarrass you.
No, I'll take that one.
Lamont going across Nicholson up against the athletic administration building off of you was a pretty good poke too.
He mentioned that at the alumni reunion. He made sure he mentioned that. Hey, the thing is, I was 42 years old at the time, so I can live with that one.
Yeah, no doubt, dude. You're the best.
I didn't see that one. I wasn't at the inter-squad game. I did see, if we're talking about opponents, I did see Brad Wilkerson from Florida hit one foul
off Coogan.
Well into the Tiger Stadium parking lot.
It went like the middle of the parking lot at Tiger Stadium. Poor Coogan, he never lived that one down, and he didn't even give up a home run. But that often gets talked about as the furthest ball anybody's ever seen hit. I still think it was fair to this day, but it was just so high that the first base umpire couldn't really tell in relation to the flagpole. So, yeah, Wilkerson's foul home run was maybe the furthest baseball I've ever seen hit.
Wonder Boy could play. Okay.
He could play.
He was really good.
He could play.
Charlie, you might remember this one. Skip and I were talking at the game. You might remember this home run, which rivals anyone, in Omaha at the old Omaha when it was 420 to center field.
Yeah.
91, Lyle Mouton, dead center off John Burke.
Yeah.
Is that when he kind of stood at home plate after he hit it?
He was the first guy to pimp one.
The one
I was the first college guy to really pimp one and get away with it. And Mouton was there this weekend too.
Yeah, I do remember. I watched it on TV. I wasn't there, but I do remember that hit for sure. We're brought to you by Marucci. From a backyard shed to the top of the game, Marucci, more than just a baseball bat company. It's a legacy built on passion and precision. With 2 decades of crafting the finest wood, metal, and leather in the sport, we're here to help you run the game. Visit MarucciSports.com to gear up with the best. And by Bayou Apparel, if you're looking for anything LSU, go to everythinglsu.com. Made by locals, ships from Baton Rouge. Bayou Apparel can help your business branding, whether it's an established brand or a new one. They do logos, event t-shirts, and promotional items for your business. You can call 225-928-9090 or go to everythinglsu.com. Guys, I really thought when I finally went to sleep on Friday night, I said, the batters have been fighting us a little bit. If there's anything that's ever going to get you out of a little slump, that's it. That's going to get you going. And I was wrong because they went out on Saturday and Phillips tied them up in knots for about 5 innings, the same way Doyle had the night before. Now, he did give up a couple of solo shots later in the game, but they really fought it through the first 5 innings. I thought they got a little bit more comfortable late in the game, Dan, but they didn't take that momentum right away from the Jones home run into the game on Saturday. And sometimes that's how it works. I remember vividly the 2001 Super Regional. LSU wins it in 13 against Tulane. We left the ballpark at midnight. We had to play again at 12 the next day. And I said, there's no way Tulane responds from this. And they did from the very first at bat. I thought LSU would take the momentum to the next day, but it didn't happen right away.
I'll tell you what, Charlie, one thing, and Doug will attest to this. When you play an emotional game like that, like you're battling, you're down to your last strike twice, and the guy hits that, when you got to turn it around, it's so hard to, like, first, you're not going to sleep for 3 hours until after that game is over. Like, You're not getting to bed. Your sleep cycle's thrown off, but then the adrenaline, the emotion, it's tough. It's tougher when you win the game to come back than it is if you lose the game. You lose the game, you go to bed a little quicker. It bothers you, but that adrenaline from the win is big. And so, it's just a tough turnaround. But give credit to Marcus Phillips. I was there behind the plate, and he was dealing. And in the last inning, when Phillips gave up a couple of those homers, he was tired. And the time before he went out, we had a long inning. I mean, I'm sorry, Tennessee had a long inning. So he had a long wait. Before he got back out there, and Skip and I were sitting, he might take him out before he puts him out for one more inning because he was at, very close to 100 pitches. So he was very good. I mean, Tennessee's first 2 guys were outstanding.
Doug, I thought Jay Johnson had to make a decision going to the top of the 8th on Saturday night that kind of swung the whole perspective of this series. LSU hits the 2 home runs in the bottom of the 7th inning. It's now a 3-2 ball game. He's got a choice here. Ianson's done at this point, and they're into the pen. He could have gone to Kason Evans at this point. He's done it only a couple of times where LSU has been behind, but at this point, they're only down 1 run. He's got 2 at-bats left. He could have sent Kason Evans out. He decided not to do it. I don't know if he was worried about LSU being able to score off Aloy, who is a very good pitcher for Tennessee, or if he had an eye towards Sunday saying, you know what, I'll take my chances with the bullpen tonight, but I'm going to have Evans tomorrow, and I'm going to have a big pitching edge against what Tennessee's got left. So I'll just take my chances tonight, and I'll have the advantage tomorrow. But I thought that was a pivot point in the series where Johnson made that call for the top of the 8th.
Yeah, I think it's really tough to go to your guy down by a run. That's the key. I think it would have been a tie game, or if LSU had been leading 3-2, I think we would have seen Evans right then to go for the throat, win the series. But considering they were down by a run, I think that's what kind of prompted that decision to keep Evans in the bullpen. And Cowan, by the way. Cowan could have come back as well. What did he through?
13 pitches.
13 pitches,
13 pitches the first night. So, yeah, I didn't sense that Jay was necessarily throwing in the towel. But I definitely, I think he made the right call. I don't know of any coach really that would send Evans or Cowan out in a game where they're down by 1 in the 7th inning. Maybe in the 5th inning, but in the 7th inning, it seems like you're just going to try to, keep the score where it is. Unfortunately, they couldn't do that. But I agreed with that decision to keep.
And you're right, Doug. The time before that I remember he put Evans in. I want to say it might have been the 6th against Alabama. They were behind, and I remember it, Dan, because I think it was the first time he had put Evans in behind. But Alabama did not have nearly the bullpen options that Tennessee did, and it was a little bit earlier in the game.
Yeah, remember the mindset that weekend against Alabama was to get to the pen. All three games, it was to get to the pen as quickly as possible. And if I remember correctly, they were in their pen at that point when Evans came in. Might be off there, but
no, they were. They were.
Yeah. So I think it was the right call. Obviously, it was the right call, and what a great job from Evans. I mean, not everybody can pitch and come out of the bullpen. It's just a psychological thing for a lot of guys. If they're a starter, they have this routine. Like for example, Gage Jump last year. This guy got started getting ready for his outings hour and a half, 2 hours before the game. So to do that is difficult. For a freshman to do that, it's just even tougher. He just doesn't have that much experience. And what I took away from that game is he battled after the first inning. He had a rough first inning where Tennessee was able to get a couple runs. And they hit some balls hard, but it was really shut down after that. I mean, he went 5 innings after that, allowed just a couple hits. And no runs with 6 strikeouts. And I think the key was no walks. So what a great job by him. Was that his first start? That was his first start of the year.
Yes,
right?
it was. Dan, as a pitching coach, when a guy's been in the bullpen all season, and he said after the game that Jay Johnson told him on Saturday, listen, if I don't use you tonight, we're going to start you tomorrow. But he didn't know at that point, this is before the game, that he wouldn't be used that night. So as a pitching coach, how do you prepare your guy to make his first start of the year? Whereas the day before, he still had to kind of be mentally prepared for the possibility they had to go in that game.
Well, first of all, you got to know your player, his personality and everything else. And I think, Jay felt comfortable letting him know that he wouldn't get all nervous or super excited. But when you tell him, hey, if I'm not using you today, we need you to start. You're my guy. It doesn't matter what time you're in the game. When you're in the game, we got a best chance to win, and kind of give it to him like that. And I think that's a good move. I want to say this too, Doug and you were talking about the 3-2. Kudos to Jay Johnson about sticking with it, meaning before the game or before he stepped in there, if we're not ahead, I'm not going to Cowan and I'm not going to Evans. I'm going to play for Sunday. And that takes a lot of courage to stick to it, especially in a close ball game. But again, Charlie, you mentioned it too. We weren't swinging the bats well, and it was 3-2. So runs were very scarce. So one run in that situation is like 4 runs in the second inning because it's a tough play. But
I mean, if you go with Evans there, I mean, and he goes in and dominates, and you lose the game 3-2 because you can't score in the last 3 innings, you waste him. I mean, you just completely waste him that inning. So I thought it was a great call by Jay. Jay's been making some really good decisions lately, from pinch hitting kids in certain spots. Yeah. And, look, he tried the Jared Jones playing third base thing to get his best possible lineup in. It didn't work out, and he was the first one to say that. Just didn't work out, and you'll only see that from here on out if we're chasing runs. So I tell you what, it's something Skip Bertman would have tried. To get his best 9 bats in that starting 9. Coach Bertman would have absolutely tried some
100%.
Yeah,
100%. Put the 9 best guys out there that can hit, and the short guy plays second base. I mean, that was the Bertman philosophy. I will say this, though, from a pitching coach standpoint, the other thing Jay's doing, okay, I'm down 3-2. It's a tight ball game. We've been talking on this show all along. He's got to find a bullpen besides those 4. Like, he's got to find somebody besides the 4 pitchers we know about to get outs when you need them in the clutch. And what's a better situation than at home at the box against Tennessee? So sometimes you can't be afraid to lose a game in order to win a championship. And I think that's another decision kind of underneath the big decision that Jay was making. I got to find somebody. I got to put people in there. We got to find a way to get through without those 2 guys.
We're brought to you by Dependable Storage, with 8 locations across Louisiana and 1 in Mississippi in Gulfport. Check out the facilities. They'll match any competitor's pricing, offer convenient online rentals and payments, and free use of their moving truck for new rental move-ins at Dependable Storage. Their facilities are clean, secure, and conveniently located. So check out the website, dependablestorage.com, for locations, pricing, and rentals. And with 25 years of experience, Lake Urgent Care dedicated to proudly producing quality medical care close to home. They treat minor illnesses and injuries for ages 3 months and up at 17 convenient locations, including Baton Rouge, Hammond, and in Livingston and Ascension parishes. Plus, they offer occupational health and weight loss solutions as a seamless extension of Our Lady of the Lake. Patients can access care from anywhere with the My Choice patient portal. Our urgent care centers are open 7 days a week, so you can walk in, check in online, or schedule a visit at lakeurgentcare.com. All right, I want to talk about the decision to go with Evans on Sunday from a different standpoint. Guys, I always thought that if they made a move with one of the two bullpen hammers, Evans or Cowan, to go to the starting rotation, it would be Cowan because he was a starting pitcher at Wofford last year. He threw over 100 innings, and he's used to that, and Evans has been a reliever all season. So do you think that he went with Evans because that was his choice from it's a decision he's made a while back, or because Cowan had thrown 13 pitches on Friday night and he thought Evans might have a little bit more, not a lot, but just a little bit more to start the game? Doug?
Totally guessing, obviously, what Jay was thinking. And I guess if it were me thinking it, it would be, I guess I wouldn't expect maybe Myers to get through the fifth inning or even the fourth inning. I think I would have expected just 3 innings just because he hasn't been extended that often. He's been up to 72 or 73 pitches throughout the course of the year. But maybe the logic was, we'll get 2 or 3 good ones out of Evans. And then, Cowan has a better chance to maybe pitch that 5 or 6 of the final innings. Whereas if you start Cowan and he gets bumped up a little bit early, now you're going straight to Evans. And again, can he get through 3 or 4? I mean, the fact the kid got through 6 innings is it won the game. I mean, it was a difference in the game. So, but I don't think they had that in their bingo card going in. I don't think anyone expected Evans to get through 6. So maybe that was the logic, start with the guy who's got the shorter window up front and then have the guy still the arrow in your quiver to bring a guy in out of the bullpen that could go that 5 or 6 final innings. I don't know. Kano, what do you think?
I agree with Doug on that. And again, I just go back to the experience that we had with Skip. His big thing was this: if you're not sure who to start, okay, you're not sure how to play it, start the guy that you're not sure he can carry it 6 or 7 innings, because the guy you really know can carry 6 or 7 innings, bring him in, because anything you get beyond two innings from the starter is a bonus in your mind, and then that shortens the game. And if you go extras, you've still got that guy that can give you length in the backside. So sometimes if you're not sure, I think it was the play that Jay was making there. I think I agree with you. Evan's going to give you 3, maybe 4 innings in your mind. Okay, well, I'd rather, and we know Cowan can go deep. He's been a starter. So really, all the games were tight. It could be an extra inning game, so you'd rather have Cowan on the backside going length. And also, he's not as much of a power pitcher. He's more of a finesse pitcher with the changeup. So I think he can go longer and he can do a little more. Even if he gets a little tired, he's got a way to get people out, where Evans is more of a power guy.
By the way, the numbers for these guys are almost identical. Cowan's pitched 7 more innings over the course of the season, but the ERAs are 112 to 109. The strikeouts are 49 to 47. The walks are 9 to 7. The number of hits are 26 to 24. I mean, 2 more identical pitching lines this deep into the season would be difficult to have. Cowan's been in 16 games and Evans has been in 13 games. So statistically, there's not much difference between the two. So now I got to ask the question that's on everybody's mind, which is, and I certainly don't expect Jay Johnson to answer it, and he shouldn't. But moving forward, what is your mindset going to Texas A&M and after that about what you're going to do on Sundays and how you're going to employ Cowan and Evans at this point?
I want to start because I think Jay Johnson deserves a ton of credit this weekend, because he basically managed every inning of every game to win 2 out of 3. And that's a tough thing to do. I mean, every single pitch. He made some great decisions, like Doug said, but I think going into this weekend, you just win game 1, and then you go and win game 2, and then you figure out game 3 later. If If you got to use Cowan and you got to use Evans in the first 2 games, then you go to Connor Ware, you go to somebody else on Sunday. I mean, I just think that Jay was masterful this weekend, and it worked out for him in playing that, meaning Chase Shores went in the game in relief on Saturday and didn't do very well. That would have been your Sunday starter if we stayed with what we were doing. So looking at it now, that was a great move by Jay because he won the Sunday. He's got to stick with the formula, Doug, when you were playing was always our formula. Let's win 2 out of 3 every weekend in the SEC, and you'll be at the top at the end. I think that's what Jay's doing.
Yeah, I mean that's especially coming down the home stretch. I mean, if he wins 2 out of 3 in each of the final 3 series, that pretty much is a top 4 seed in the SEC, or it looks like it would be. I mean, there'd have to be some crazy things happen if LSU were to take 6 of the next 9 games to not be in the top 4. But I couldn't agree more. I think that you have to just do whatever you have to do to win Friday and Saturday and then worry about Sunday when it comes, unless, Saturday you see kind of what you saw this week where it just gets out of hand a little bit and then you have the ability to throw off, if you will, and save one of those or both of those big arms. So, but I'm with you, Ken. I think that, you start Anderson, and depending on what the score is, if Evans is the answer to go in there and win that game on Friday night, you burn him. And then the same thing on Saturday. If you go Ianson and then you got to go to Cowan to come in for him because it's a 1-run game, then you burn him. As long as you're winning by a run, right?
Yeah, you got to be winning.
We've already covered that.
Got to be winning.
And then, like you said, Sunday, Newt, Connor Ware, Johnny Holstaff, Chase Shores, maybe even, depending on, what happens. But the bottom line is we keep talking about this every week. There's 4 pitchers right now that we can count on. There's 4 guys that if I'm Jay Johnson, I'm comfortable with, and that's the Friday, Saturday guy, and obviously the 2 out of the bullpen. Somebody's got to graduate. And we keep saying it, but like we're running out of weeks now at this point.
Yeah.
I see Jaden Newt out there, and I like Jaden Newt. I think he's pretty close. But we're starting to see guys like Dalton Beck and people we haven't seen all year. Cooper Williams is getting a chance. I think Jacob Myers really has the stuff to be dominant out of the bullpen. If he could just figure out a way to throw strikes more closer to a 60-65% rate instead of 50%, he would be the answer because he's lights out. He's got the real high release point and the major league type fastball. But to me, it's getting urgent, and I think you nailed it, Cano. Like right now, it's still an open tryout for who's going to be this 5th person. 6 is what you need to win a national championship. Go look at all the national championship teams. 75-80% of the innings pitched on that season are going to fall under 6 guys. It's always been that way. We thought we had 10 or 11 at the beginning of the year just simply because of all the big arms and all the high velo. But we've all learned again. We've all stepped back. It's kind of back to what your dad used to say when you were a kid. It's not about how hard you throw. It's about being able to throw the ball where you want to throw it. And we've all kind of had to digress a little bit and get back to the basics. But I would say, the biggest issue right now, it's not offense. It's not, the many struggles from Jared Jones. Ted Williams also went into slumps. It's finding a 4th and 5th, or a 5th and 6th guy to depend on, on the mound.
Well, and the other thing too, Doug, is you've got to understand. Everybody's got to understand this. You're at LSU, winning 2 out of 3 and coming in and getting a bye in the SEC tournament and everything. That's great, but somewhere along the line, you got to win 3 games to win a regional. And so you've got to play to go to Omaha and win a national championship, or it's a disappointing season. Like you said, 5 and 6 got to come out of there, and then maybe the 7 is an out eater or a specialist, and that's it. And those guys, they got to step up. It's LSU. We got to get it done.
We're brought to you by the law offices of O.C. Brown. Dana Brown and his team of attorneys have really done a great job for us over the years. They want to be your law firm for a lifetime. Family owned. Dana's carried on his father O.C.'s legacy for the last 30 years. If you've been in a car accident or you have other legal needs, the law offices of O.C. Brown should be your first and only call at 343-1111. That's 225-343-1111. On the web, it's O.C. Brown, OSSIEBrown.com, and that first consultation is always free. I thought that yesterday's game was a big one, not because if they had lost that, all hope would be lost or anything like that. But I thought that yesterday's game could very closely mirror what they may see in game 3 of a super regional. And I know they got to get that far, but Tennessee is remarkably similar to LSU. They've got about 4 guys, really premium arms up at the top of their staff, and then it drops off considerably, to the next 1 or 2 guys, and then it drops off even more to the guys after that. And I think LSU is pretty similar to that. And these are both elite offenses. And you could see in a game 3 of a super regional, a team like Tennessee, where you got to figure out, hey, listen, our top 2 starters are off the board. This is how we got to go win a game with the stands packed and everything on the line. So I thought yesterday's game kind of mirrored a postseason type game, and to see LSU respond the way they did, Doug, was really encouraging.
Yeah, it was. And I think it was a huge weekend. I think that, look, who cares about midweek games and all that good stuff? But all things considered, I think that if you lose that Tuesday night game and then get beat 2 out of 3 this weekend, the season momentum has now shifted. Whereas I think that they kind of grabbed the reins and took back control. I think they'll have a good win tomorrow night. And, Texas A&M is going to be a battle on the road. I mean, to take that series – maybe the biggest, series victory of the year if they're able to do that, because they're playing well. They've got some of their horses back. Texas A&M is a really difficult place to play. Very strange over there. A lot of weird things going on. But yes, I think the fact that, first of all, they trailed in all 3 games this weekend. If you include, falling behind 2-1 on Sunday in the first inning, but the way that they came back and responded, considering what happened on Tuesday night, might have been the difference between, a postseason run at Alec Box and a postseason run, on the road. So hopefully they can continue where they are. Hopefully some of those arms that we're hoping to see step up can actually come in and get some big outs. Because I really feel like we're at the point of the season where if it's Connor Binge or Primo or Rizzi, Schmidt, these guys that have battled, if you will, I feel like if they come out there against A&M, for example, and have a big 2 innings or get a big strikeout in a big moment, that could be what helps them to graduate. Keno, you remember, Coach Bertman wouldn't just tell us you graduated. There was a moment. There was a specific thing that happened the night before. You'd sit down and he would play the music, and then he would tell us that last night, Blair Barbier was up in the bottom of the 7th inning down by 1, and he hit a 2-run double. Like, he's graduated. The pressure barrier doesn't matter anymore. So I don't think to get ready to pitch and to believe that you can, I don't think it takes weeks or months to discover. I think you need one good outing where you find it. And hopefully 4 or 5 out of those 4 or 5 kids that absolutely have the stuff to get SEC hitters out, I just really think that that's a huge part of the rest of this season. Can a couple of them graduate? If they can, you might want to start looking at room rates in Omaha. But if they cannot, it might be a tough postseason.
Well, you talked about the graduation. That was big. And the other thing that was big for Skip, I don't know if you even knew this as a pitcher, but as coaches, guy doesn't really graduate on a pitching until he does it 3 times in a row. That was Skip's measure. I want to see it 3 times. I want to see him pitch well. Not necessarily the stats, but deliver pitches on command, make the pitches, have composure. If he does it 3 times in a row, I'm going to go with it. Skip it.
I don't know if I ever graduated to hear that, Cannon.
Your picture's on the wall, Thompson. You graduated, trust me. Dan, I promised you I wouldn't talk about RPIs in big picture until we got to May. Well, it's May.
Yeah. Not May yet, but
not yet. We're there. We're there.
It's for all intents and purposes.
It's the week of May.
It's May. Yeah. Doug, I did something yesterday when I got home from the game that I very rarely do. I was rooting for Texas A&M just because I didn't want them to get swept at Texas. And not only did they get swept, they got swept in 3 1-run games. And you just feel like, oh man, they were good enough to win all 3 of those games at Texas, but they came up just a little bit short. And you wonder if the law of averages may balance out next weekend. I certainly hope not. But LSU, for all of the things that have happened to them, are sitting with a top 10 RPI. They're in second place in the SEC at 14-7. They have beaten, and I think this is big, they've won 5 out of 7 SEC series, and they've beaten 6 out of 7 Friday night guys. Okay. We're talking about guys like Jared Spencer at Texas, who is now out for the year. Texas's ace, which is a big, big deal. Pico Cone at Mississippi State, Kyson Witherspoon at Oklahoma, and now Liam Doyle at Tennessee. These are top line pitchers. You've got to do that to advance. I think if LSU gets to 19 wins, they're probably in pretty good shape. I think if the selections were today, they'd be not only would they be a top 8 national seed lock, I think they'd probably be the number 2 or 3 seed. They are ranked number 2, if that means anything to you, in most of the polls. Texas is 19. There's 2 outliers in the league. Texas is 19-2. A big reason for that is they're 7-1 in one-run games. Okay, the law of averages catches up with you at some point, although it doesn't always happen in the same season. And then the other outlier is Missouri is 0-21. I don't know how that's possible, but it's happened. So I think LSU is in as good a shape as you could, pretty much realistically want with 3 series to go. I know 2 of them are on the road, but I think this team is not only perfectly positioned, but guys, they have done this and they still haven't put it all together. Okay. And they put it all together in May and June. But they've gotten to this point with all of these accomplishments and they still haven't played what I would consider their best baseball or up to, everything that they can do just yet. But boy, I think they're on the verge of breaking out.
We don't have, much on Jay Johnson. What, 3 years? This is his 3rd year? Or is this his 4th year? Fourth year already. But I do know this: his teams every year are playing the best at the end of the year. And I also think that in terms of RPI, that Arkansas series is kind of having your own fate in your own hands, right? Like if you're able to come away from that series with a series victory or even maybe sweeping Arkansas, I think that'll, put you where you need to be. And then, of course, right. Look, I hate saying things like this about SEC opponents because I've learned by now that you should never look ahead and say, well, at least we have South Carolina to end the year because they've struggled this year. Because it truthfully never is easy to win in this league. It won't be easy to win that weekend. But, South Carolina has not played its best baseball this year. And to finish with them, certainly doesn't hurt matters for LSU. I guess it would be better than finishing with Arkansas or Tennessee in that final weekend, because no matter what, it seems like every single year at the very end, that last weekend, we're constantly refreshing our computers to get the scores around the league because we don't know anything yet. We don't know where it's going to end up. And it looks like it's going to be close like that again this year. If you look at the standings right now, they're all bunched up at the top, with 10 wins, the top 6 or so. And then after that, you've got some teams down there who are starting to surge like Texas A&M. It's going to be a wild ride coming down the home stretch, but Charlie, I agree 100%. It could be a little better, but we should be pretty happy with where we are right now. By the way, I just noticed on D1 baseball, 4 SEC schools ranked in the top 10, number 1 and 2 and number 9 and 10, which is usually there's 5 or 6 teams in the top 10, but 2 are still barely holding on there as far as D1 baseball is concerned. And that's Georgia at 9 and Auburn at 10.
Well, you mentioned South Carolina at the end of the year. Don't talk to Mike Bianco about South Carolina.
Yeah.
Okay, so Paul Maneri's club, you never know. Paul's a great coach. And
you're right.
And at the end of the year, if they're fighting to get in a regional or fighting to get that last pick, they could be playing a whole new season.
They're a little bit feisty at home. They have been very competitive at home. They've really struggled on the road, but they've been competitive, including that Ole Miss series that you referenced at home. So, yeah, nothing's free, pal.
Well, you can bet Paul Maneri is going to throw everything but the kitchen sink at him too. There's going to be some extra incentive and motivation for him that weekend, especially if there's nothing for them to win. They're second to last in the SEC right now. They've got 5 wins in the conference, but whether they have a chance to get into the postseason or not, Paul Maneri is going to come, in full fury that weekend, ready to play some ball. So, but again, the in terms of the RPI and kind of having the future in your own hands, a big weekend this weekend against A&M and a solid weekend against Arkansas should put them right where they want to be at the end of the season.
Tigers go to College Station Friday night at 6 o'clock, Saturday afternoon at 2, and Sunday at 1 o'clock. For Dan Canavary and Doug Thompson, I'm Charles Hanniger for Monday, April the 28th. This has been the Hannycast.